with the initial change,
Yep.
it's just been, I mean, a frustrating year with injuries, not just to Caitlin, but obviously to Caitlin. DB ultimately ends up leaving.
Yep.
And so that, you know, we already talked about how you need time to gel, you need time to build chemistry. So how frustrating has it been that the chemistry is just, it's like start, stop, start, stop.
Yeah, it's definitely been a struggle. But I think just at the start of the season too, like, you know, you have your start of the season meetings and you're talking. And for us, it was about, listen, like no matter what happens in the season, it's next woman up and you have to be ready. And I feel like obviously struggling with injuries and then, you know, you sign people and then they leave and it's like, listen, like whoever is next, be ready to play because it doesn't matter. Like the games still keep coming. Like you still have to be ready to compete. And that's why I was so happy. Like when we signed Ari.
Aliyah Boston just dropped an interview with Sue Bird. And yes, she said things about Caitlin Clark that turned heads. We're going to unpack every sharp line, every compliment, and every keep your expectations in check moment. What was your first thought when Aliyah called out the pressure of being teammates with Caitlin?
I mean, it is. Obviously, you never want people to get injured, but the reality is you have to have that mindset and it gives other people opportunity. And then you hope ultimately you're all better for it when the injured players come back. But I'm curious, specific to Caitlin being on the floor, off the floor. And I saw you talk on your own podcast about like the spacing and how different it is. But when you're entering a game, like your mental prep, how does it change? Because it's two different systems essentially.
It is. Honestly, like when C is on the floor, I'm like, listen, be ready to run. Be ready to get out. Be ready because she's looking. She's looking. She wants to play fast. Super early in the offense. And like we do that too as well here. But I think sometimes too now without her, like we can get into like a little more half court execution, make the defenses work a little bit harder, first side, second side, third side. And then I think when you have like Kelsey, when Kelsey's playing in transition, get that ball up to her and make her
I've never seen anybody so bouncy.
Like
Aliyah Boston's words didn't feel rehearsed. They didn't feel like a PR-approved answer crafted by some team media staffer. She went on Sue Bird's podcast and just told the truth about what it's been like playing with Caitlin Clark. And let's be honest, the truth matters a lot more than another fake headline about how everybody's best friends.
So entering year 3 for you, which is this year, as you said, it's a lot of change.
Yes.
You have a coaching change. You have it's a big free agency year for you guys. And really overnight, what that big free agency year was, or big change was expectations change.
Yes.
So you guys went from like this up and coming where it's like you're getting to know each other to now it's like, oh, they could win the whole thing.
Yeah.
So what was the experience of essentially becoming like, instead of being the hunter, you're now the hunted?
Yeah. It's crazy, but I feel like it was definitely expected. Like, I think number one, like just last year, everyone, like when they see our name on the schedule, even though the year before we didn't win, like we won 13 games or whatever it was. And it was like, okay, well, but then you added in Caitlin, right? And everybody's like, oh, like they're going to be this, this, and this. And now everybody's like, oh, you know what? We're going to prove you wrong. Like, hell no. Like that's how it is. And
Boston's perspective is sharp because she's living the situation. Clark has been called the future of women's basketball, ESPN's new favorite highlight machine, and the ratings magnet. That's the kind of noise you can't escape, whether you're scrolling through your phone or walking into a packed arena. And Boston isn't blind to it. She flat out said that Caitlin Clark brings eyes, attention, and massive expectations to every single Fever game. Now, let's pause here. Aliyah Boston is not some bitter teammate looking for sympathy. She's an all-star in her own right, Rookie of the Year in 2023, and the centerpiece of Indiana before Clark even arrived. But the day Caitlin landed in Indianapolis, everything shifted. Every missed shot got replayed online. Every awkward possession was turned into a debate. Every win or loss was dissected like it was a playoff series.
and everybody's like, yeah, like they got, for us, we always think like you have to approach every season with like, we're winning this whole season. So that was our mindset. And I think when you look at expectations, once again, expectations comes from everyone outside. Cause like in our circle, we know exactly what we want to do. We also understand that it's a process. We understand that new faces, new coaches, like different style of play for people joining us. It's like people need time to figure it out once again. But when you do figure it out, it's going to be scary. And I feel like that's what it was for us. And that was our approach. And we're still like, listen, we are coming here to win this thing. Like, that's what it is. And that's not going to change no matter what, because.
And that's where Boston's honesty cuts through. On Sue Bird's podcast, she explained that the pressure didn't just come for Clark, it landed on everyone. Because if Clark is supposed to be the savior, then what happens when the team struggles? People point fingers and teammates like Boston carry that weight too.
When we signed Ari, I felt like that was like amazing for us because obviously we couldn't predict C being out for this long at least. And so it's like having someone in that runs the point well, can call her own number, I think honestly has been like our biggest blessing. Obviously now with Bibbs, like she's coming in, she's able to stretch the floor. It's like, I think no matter what, everything is for a reason, right? And that's kind of our focus is, listen, like whatever happens, but whoever is here in our circle, listen, like we're here to hoop.
Yeah.
And that's how we're going to play. And so I feel like that's just been our approach. Like it hasn't been perfect. There's definitely been injuries here and there, but
she reminded people that she and Clark had never played together before this season. Yet the outside world expected instant perfection. It's almost like critics imagined that Boston should already know Clark's tendencies, her timing, her vision, without actually spending months on the court together. Boston said, and I quote, "We weren't given that grace period of like getting to play with someone you've never played with." That line says it all. Think about it. In the NBA, we constantly hear coaches, analysts, and even players say that chemistry takes time. When LeBron James formed the Heat's Big Three with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, it took them almost an entire season to fully click. But in the WNBA, with Caitlin Clark, the expectations were flipped upside down. Fans acted like if the Fever weren't a playoff team on day one, then Boston and everyone else must be underperforming. Boston was clearly irritated by that narrative, though she handled it with calm words. She didn't rant. She didn't point fingers. She simply said that the team was learning, and that people on the outside weren't giving them room to actually grow. That kind of maturity says a lot about her, especially since she's only 23.
It's all over.
She is moving. She's making the right read. And it's like, listen, and she's scoring the ball at a very high level. And so I think, it's a little bit both. Like, once again, like when she's on the floor, like she's looking to get up, people can be like, listen, I don't need to outlet because I know once we rebound, we're getting it up. But I also think it, once again, it's like puts people on their toes because they're like, whoa, I need to find Kelsey in transition. I need to find Ari now. Like we got to find Sophie and Lexi knocking down threes. Like it's different, but I think everyone is once again finding their own rhythm. And that we just did a great job of like...
The conversation then shifted toward how her chemistry with Clark has grown. Boston admitted that the early months were rougher than expected. There were passes she wasn't ready for. There were plays where she didn't read Clark's intent fast enough. And you know how social media works. Clip a bad possession, slap a sarcastic caption on it, and suddenly it's proof that the Fever can't work together. But here's the key. Boston didn't deny those struggles. Instead, she explained why they happened. She said that as the season went on, she started to pick up on Clark's rhythm. She noticed where Caitlin's eyes were pointing. She recognized when a pass was coming without having to hear anything. That is how real basketball chemistry develops, not from magic, but from reps. Boston gave a pretty striking example. She described how once you've played enough with Caitlin, you don't need her to shout cut, or screen, or look for the ball. You just read her body language, the way she lifts her head, the way she positions her feet. Suddenly, Boston knows the pass is about to fly in her direction. That's when the Fever started to look more connected on the court. This is where the sarcasm kicks in, because honestly, it's hilarious that people thought this wouldn't take time. Did folks expect Boston to instantly become Clark's best pick-and-roll partner after a single practice? Did they think every lob would be caught and finished like some highlight reel? That's not how sports work. Chemistry is messy, full of mistakes, and Boston's explanation on Sue Bird's show proves she understands the process. But let's not sugarcoat it. Boston has also dealt with trolls. On the same podcast, she admitted that people have tweeted at her, saying she's the worst big I've ever seen. Think about how absurd that is. She's a number. 1 draft pick, rookie of the year, an all-star, and yet some couch potato on Twitter thinks he's got the right to call her trash. Boston said that she already puts enough pressure on herself, so hearing garbage like that is exhausting. And she's right. You can tell she doesn't mind being held accountable. She admitted when things weren't smooth with Clark, but she also made it clear that fans expecting instant perfection are clueless. And let's be real, they are. Building timing between a guard and a post player doesn't happen overnight. It takes hundreds of possessions, lots of film study, and trust. The good part is, Boston also praised Clark. This isn't about jealousy. She talked about how Caitlyn's passing ability is elite. She called her a phenomenal passer. She said once she sees Clark's eyes, she knows where to go. That's high praise, and it shows that Boston isn't dismissing Clark's talent. She's actually embracing it, even while asking fans to chill with the unfair criticism. What makes this interesting is how Boston framed the whole thing. She didn't just talk about Clark as an individual, she tied it back to the entire Fever team. She said the pressure isn't just on one player, it spreads across the roster, and that's what most people forget. When one player gets superstar hype, everyone else gets dragged into the circus. Sue Bird, being the savvy interviewer she is, kept asking about Boston's experience with Clark. And Boston didn't flinch. She didn't give cliché answers like, "We're just focused on the next game." She gave layered, real answers that revealed how tough and how rewarding this partnership has been.
Single time, no
what
matter
is it
what.
about them that they're doing that?
It's just the best sports scene. Like I don't know any other way to put it, but when it comes to us, when it comes to the Pacers, when it comes to sports in general, they show up and they're loud.
Yeah, no, being there definitely was just like a palpable vibe to like the whole city. I love that the city's kind of on the smaller side, so everything was convenient.
Yes.
You could like get around, but yeah, the fans really showed up.
Boston pointed out that she sees the value in Clark's presence. The extra eyes on the Fever mean more visibility for the whole roster. It means the league benefits. It means women's basketball keeps growing. But it also means that mistakes get magnified and learning curves don't get respected. That's the double-edged sword of playing with a generational star. And here's the kicker. Boston never sounded resentful. She sounded motivated. She basically said, "Yeah, the attention is heavy, but that's part of the job now." That's what makes her take different. Most players would just throw generic praise at Clark and move on. Boston took the chance to say, "Hey, this is great, but give us some breathing room to figure it out." It's the honesty that hits hardest. Too often, players try to downplay or dodge questions about high-profile teammates. Boston leaned into it. She told people what it actually feels like. She owned up to the fact that it hasn't been smooth from the jump. And she made it clear that, yes, Clark is great, but the Fever are a team, not just a one-woman show. And let's not forget Boston's own background here. She's not someone who had an easy path. Growing up in St. Thomas, she had to fight for opportunities just to play organized basketball. She played in co-ed leagues with barely any other girls. She trained outdoors in the blazing sun, while kids in the States were playing indoors in air-conditioned gyms. That kind of upbringing made her tougher. So when she talks about pressure and expectations, you know she's speaking from experience. It's also funny when you compare her words to the way media sometimes spins things. Headlines make it sound like there's drama between Boston and Clark. But if you actually listen to the podcast, you realize she's not tearing Clark down at all. She's explaining the process, defending her own journey, and even praising Clark's skills. It's a lot more balanced than the hot takes want you to believe. Part of why this podcast mattered so much is because Sue Bird isn't just some random host. She's a legend who knows exactly what it means to play with stars, to deal with expectations, and to build chemistry. That made Boston more comfortable opening up. You could hear the honesty in her tone. Now, let's zoom out for a second. This interview doesn't just tell us about Boston and Clark, it tells us something bigger about how we treat athletes in the social media era. Fans want instant storylines. They want instant success. They want highlight plays that confirm their biases. But actual athletes? They're grinding, making mistakes, figuring things out. And when someone like Boston gives us that reality check, we should listen. Aliyah Boston's words about Caitlin Clark on Sue Bird's podcast didn't end at chemistry and pressure. She kept peeling back the layers of what it actually feels like to share the court with one of the most scrutinized rookies in sports history. The thing is, Caitlin isn't a rookie anymore, but the spotlight hasn't dimmed. It's only hotter. And Boston made sure to remind everyone that being teammates with Clark means living inside that spotlight, whether you want it or not. She spoke about how the outside noise made their early months together almost unbearable. Every turnover became a trending clip. Every missed connection became a meme, and Boston admitted it tested her patience. But she also acknowledged something important. Those struggles are shaping her into a better player. Learning to work with a guard who plays at Clark's speed, who sees passing lanes others can't, forces Boston to elevate her own game. It's not just about surviving the hype, it's about matching the intensity that comes with it. And here's where Boston got even more real. She admitted that social media criticism isn't easy to ignore. She said she's already her own toughest critic, so when faceless trolls pile on, it feels redundant and draining. But instead of letting that crush her, she's reframed it. She pointed out that she can either drown in the negativity or use it as fuel. Her tone made it clear she's choosing the latter. That's a level of maturity you don't always get from young stars. What stood out most is how Boston balanced criticism with respect. She didn't dismiss Clark's hype as undeserved. In fact, she doubled down on praising Clark's vision and passing. She described moments when she no longer needs words or signals. Just one look from Clark tells her where to move. That's when you realize this isn't about jealousy. It's about patience and growth. Boston knows that the tools are there for something special. It's just going to take time. Sue Bird, who's played with superstars like Diana Taurasi and Breanna Stewart, clearly understood where Boston was coming from. She nudged Boston to reflect on the bigger picture, and Boston's response was telling. She said the Fever benefit from Clark's spotlight because it lifts everyone. More fans, more cameras, more coverage, it all means more opportunities for every teammate. But she also stressed that it comes with an unfair cost. Outsiders expecting flawless basketball every night. Boston's reminder was simple but sharp. They're still building. The timing of this interview also matters. The Fever are no longer at the bottom of the standings, like in Boston's rookie year. With Clark in the mix, they've pushed into playoff contention, even as critics keep dissecting every possession. Boston used this moment to make sure people understand that the progress is real. It may not always show up in flashy highlights, but it's showing up in wins, chemistry, and confidence. Boston also reflected on how her own upbringing shaped the competitor she is today. Growing up in St. Thomas, she didn't have the luxuries that American players had: indoor gyms, endless travel circuits, fancy trainers. She played outdoors in the heat, often in co-ed leagues where she was told not to embarrass the boys. That chip on her shoulder didn't disappear when she entered the WNBA. It only sharpened. So when people try to tell her she's the worst big they've ever seen, she laughs at the irony. The same toughness that got her here is exactly why she won't break under that nonsense. If anything, Boston's words should make Fever fans optimistic. She's not running from Clark's shadow. She's stepping into it, standing beside it, and making sure she's part of the bigger story. She made it clear that this isn't Caitlin Clark's team alone. It's Indiana's team. And every player on it is adjusting, improving, and pushing for something greater. That honesty hits harder than any empty cliche about trusting the process. By the end of the conversation, you could tell Sue Bird respected how candid Boston was. She wasn't just hyping her teammate, but she wasn't tearing her down either. She was being truthful about the challenges, the growth, and the pressure that comes with being linked to the biggest name in the league. And that balance, tough honesty mixed with genuine praise, is exactly why this interview stood out. So, Aliyah Boston laid it out without filters. She called out the pressure, explained the struggles, and showed respect for Caitlin Clark's game, all in one interview. No drama, just reality. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into the WNBA.